You may remember me as your former president, America. After I was impeached, and really, how was I supposed to know that prostitute was a cop? I began dreaming of something bigger and better. Conquest of the entire world!
Nimue, deploy Neutro's shutdown sequence!
Shutdown sequence has been deployed. The system is not responding.
You may also recall the most powerful robot ever built, Neutro! It's been out of my hands for a while now, but not anymore! The world governments will surrender to me, or I will level your cities! Although, I might just do that anyway!
How the hell did that psycho get a hold of Neutro? I'd sure as hell like to know! Nimue, you're supposed to monitor Neutro's security along with everything else!
This unit has been severely overtaxed this last year. Along with random malfunctions across Comicron 1, the continued observations of several individuals, regular maintenance, and searches for the previously unidentified gunslinger have forced this unit to relax certain security measures in order to stay functional.
He could have been planning this for months, ever since he discovered you lost your magic, Linkara. If he had enough patience, he could have hacked into Neutro's systems, overridden its security protocols, and gotten in without any of us ever noticing. And we've got to stop him before he does any more damage. Nimue, charge the forward lance. Slice that robot in half.
Confirmed. Neutro robot is undamaged. It appears to have an energy shield.
Insano has been busy. Neutro never had an energy shield before.
We are being hailed by enemy robot.
On screen!
So, Linkara, how's that whole magic not working anymore thing working out for you?
My magic was restored a few months ago, Insano. Surrender now and I won't use it to send your ass to hell!
Oh, it's back, is it? That sucks. But still, doesn't matter. I've equipped Neutro with a negator, and thanks to this energy shield, I don't think even a blitzball's going to keep me from fulfilling my destiny.
You're crazy, you bastard!
Really? Well, in case you forgot, Neutro was mine to begin with, and you stole it from me. And you didn't even vacuum in here, or dust, or put an air freshener or anything. But it doesn't matter, because I'll clear the air myself with laser beams!
Can you beam me down there?
Teleportation systems are unable to penetrate enemy robot shields.
Can we get through to Angry Joe? Maybe get some reinforcements?
Angry Joe Army Station is currently orbiting the other side of the planet. It would take several hours to maneuver into location on thrusters, and several hours to return to optimal teleport position.
I can get through that shield in less than an hour, Linkara! I promise it! Then do so. Till then, there's only one thing I can do. Gather my thoughts with a comic book.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, you're not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he's a man punch, wears a party hat. Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazons and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. At this point, well, what can I really say about Star Wars? It's Star Wars. Everyone under the sun has talked about it. We've seen people deconstruct the prequels and find everything that's wrong with them. We've lampooned and parodied the original trilogy. We've made the jokes. We've seen Turkish and Brazilian Star Wars. So what am I bringing to the discussion? Well, how about being the guy that doesn't like Star Wars as much as others? Now, don't get me wrong, I don't hate Star Wars. I love the movies, and even if I think the prequels suck, I still got a lot of entertainment value out of riff tracks making fun of them, or the Plinkett reviews heavily deconstructing them. But the thing is that in the classic battle between Star Trek and Star Wars, I'm firmly in the Star Trek camp. I think Star Trek overall is better written, more entertaining, and generally just better than it. I grew up playing Star Trek games, watching Star Trek on TV, wanting to be my own starship captain. I can check that one off the list at least. Star Wars has great, enjoyable, quotable movies that didn't have as much of an impact on me as Star Trek did. As such, I'm much more detached from the Star Wars franchise, and why I'm able to say that when you get right down to it, Star Wars is really kind of stupid. A bunch of religious zealots that use an invisible magical energy field run around with laser swords while little troll puppets dispense pearls of wisdom. Some asshole with a bucket on his head saunters up while obeying the commands of Evil Von Evilton, and a giant slug is somehow a gangster commanding lots of loyalty despite the fact that he could easily be assassinated by just shooting him in his drooling face a few times from 30 feet away. Princesses engage in resistance movements to overthrow empires. Robots that nobody can understand are brought along on dangerous missions on terrain that they're not designed for, and subsequently inefficiently designed gold robots somehow are main characters even though they have no function on missions. Single planets are also moons that have a full single ecosystem encompassing the entire planet, yet retain a completely breathable atmosphere, and somehow it's better to have a planet-destroying weapon, even though destroying entire planets is probably bad for morale and the economy. But then again, other people think differently and could just as well point out different things that Star Trek has about it that are stupid and absurd. It's the great thing about nerd culture, our ability to converse intelligently about the things we love. Plus, let's face it, superhero comics are kind of absurd too when you get right down to it, possessing just as much ludicrous, absurd, and moronic elements to them, yet I absolutely love superheroes. The point is that, yeah, I like Star Wars fine. I just don't get as overly emotional about it as other people. I got more upset that the 2009 Star Trek movie had the Enterprise being built on the ground than I did about Han not shooting first. But I get it. I get the rage and I get the love. We're all geeks together and we'll poke fun and nitpick to our heart's content. I'm cautiously optimistic about the upcoming Disney trilogy. They seem to be making all the right choices. The first being don't let George Lucas write or direct. And even if they do screw it up, we'll just have new fodder for jokes. And speaking of fodder for jokes, did you know that there were Star Wars comics? Oh yeah, just like every popular franchise, Star Wars has multiple runs from multiple companies. Marvel had a rather bizarre run back around the time of A New Hope. Dark Horse has had critically lauded and critically panned series. Hell, for a while I was considering having my first proper Star Wars comic review to be from Dark Horse's run that explains why Jedi aren't allowed to fall in love. Spoilers, the reason is really, really stupid. But then there's what we've got today, Star Wars 3D #1, coming at us from Blackthorn Publishing. You may remember Blackthorn as being responsible for another 3D comic I've reviewed, the California Raisins 3D. If you don't remember that review, go and watch it again. But it's important to note that the 3D in that comic was utter balls. It didn't create any effect at all, and it was hard on the eyes, like most 3D is anyway. The good news is that the 3D in this comic is actually a lot better. It's still pretty shallow in most places and completely unnecessary for dialogue balloons, but it does actually work in most spots. There will be sequences where there are characters in the front and characters in the background, and the Anaglyph 3D actually does what it's supposed to do and separates them. However, since the panels are going to be moving around in this review anyway, I would suggest you not watch this one with 3D glasses. Trust me, like the Phantom Menace in 3D, it does not make things any better. Let's dig into Star Wars 3D #1. The cover's decent, if a bit crowded. The Star Wars 3D logo is far too big and takes up a whole third of the thing. The middle has this scene full of aliens and Han Solo punching someone, Luke having his lightsaber out, though the hilt of the thing looks a bit larger than normal, maybe that's just me, and Chewbacca lifting this guy over his head. Chewbacca seems the worst rendered, since now he kinda looks like Bigfoot. One day I'm gonna get that filthy Wookiee! The The story, while being published in 1987, seems to be set shortly after the first movie and is also apparently a 10th anniversary series. Man, were they ahead of the curve! It took the 35th anniversary for the studios to release crappy 3D Star Wars material and then cancel it. We open in space! A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, in a sepia-toned galaxy, the stars stretch, then scream. The stars really were not ready for their yoga session that morning. As the fugitive freighter Millennium Falcon makes the jump in from lightspeed to find it has unwanted company, and they're too polite to ask them to leave. So yeah, a bunch of TIE fighters are attacking the Millennium Falcon. Hey, what the hell are these fighters doing all the way out here without a mothership? Or is that another Death Star back there? Would explain the grid lines on the planet. We can't outrun them, kid. We're gonna have to stand and fight. Well, considering we've seen the Millennium Falcon's gunner ports, I'm pretty sure you mean sit and fight. As Luke and Han Solo separate to go to the gunner ports of the Falcon, C-3PO offers this helpful comment. Oh dear me, why didn't I stay behind with R2? Because it wouldn't be Star Wars without some kind of annoying comic relief. Although, that is a good question. What the hell is C-3PO doing here? And why wasn't R2-D2 brought along? Whatever they're doing, the little trash can has proven a hell of a lot more useful than the robot who knows what order the forks are supposed to be laid out. Hey, we're the guys who destroyed the Empire's precious Death Star, remember? Yeah, and then they turned right around and built a new one. Then again...
First rule in government spending. Why build one when you can have two twice the price?
Nice shooting, Han, but after a target like the Death Star's exhaust port, shooting the fighters is a snap. Did we mention that we destroyed the Death Star? We totally did. We really want to convince the audience that we did that. Concentrate fire on port and starboard wait. Is that a Star of David on that pilot's helmet?
In Jews out in space, we're zooming along, protecting the Hebrew race.
Anyway, the TIE fighters keep out maneuvering the Falcon, but they manage to get away by pulling a loop-the-loop and causing some of the fighters to crash into each other. After blasting another one, Luke says Han can have the last one. However, when he tries to fire, it malfunctions. Miserable hunk of junk, work blast you! No, Han, you're flooding it. Give it a rest. After hitting it once more, though, it works and blasts the remaining TIE fighter. By the way, it really goes to show how crappy the Empire's TIE fighter pilots are, considering a beaten-up old freighter is capable of taking out an entire squadron of them single-handedly. They start making the calculations to light speed, and Han says it's not too late for Luke to change his mind, and oh dear Lord, Luke's artwork! Aside from him looking nothing like Mark Hamill, the perspective with the hand is not helping Luke appear less bulky. Dude's got really wide shoulders now. What's he doing with his hand anyway? Is he trying to mind trick Han? We cut back to Yavin 4, where the rebels are trying to evacuate their base since, well, even though they destroyed the Death Star, the Empire probably knows where they are. Of course, they probably wouldn't have to do this in such a hurry if they hadn't taken time out to make everyone stand in formation while giving medals to everybody but the Wookiee, the racist bastards. And of course, being such a well-organized rebellion, they don't actually have a backup base in mind and are hoping Luke and Han can help with that when they return. The sad part of all of this is that X-Wing pilot Porkins actually had a really great place in mind for a new base before his tragic fate. The General wonders if the two will even return at all. They haven't disappointed us yet, General. What do you mean, R2? There's always a first time. I always like to think that R2-D2 is actually the most foul-mouthed jackass of the Star Wars universe. Yes, I know, R2. I'm worried about them too. Lady, stop pretending you understand what I'm saying. I was telling you that hairstyle looks hideous on ya. We cut back to the Falcon, which is surprisingly enough returning to Tatooine. Both Han and C-3PO express their distaste over being here. Don't know why you needed to come back here, kid. This place is still the unadulterated armpit of the galaxy. Plus, there's that whole I owe lots of money to a giant worm thing. That won't come back to bite me in the ass. For the rest of you maybe, but I grew up here. I have a few loose ends to tie up before I can concentrate on the rebellion. Oh, really?
I want to come with you to Alderaan. There's nothing for me here now.
You'll have to sell your speeder.
That's okay. I'm never coming back to this planet again.
Luke, I'm just saying that maybe you don't need to worry about changing your mailing address. And despite the fact that it was the same damn scene, the writer apparently remembered that Luke sold his original land speeder and had to borrow one from the Yavin base. Although that does beg the question of what the rebellion needed with a land speeder on a forest moon. Will the Millennium Falcon be safe here, Captain Solo?
Safe as anything can be, 3PO.
And by safe, he means, shooting at it. Maybe no one will try to steal the Falcon's stereo if it already looks beat up. Or maybe it's galactic power locks. Actually, it turns out that Solo has a new trick up his sleeve.
Once I've activated her new camouflage webbing.
No ship that small has a cloaking device.
I love how this comic seems to have simultaneously seen and not seen Star Wars. It's an interesting dichotomy. Anyway, the group rides back to the desolated moisture farm of Luke's aunt and uncle. We see that their bodies have been buried, which makes me wonder if Luke just did it now, or if he actually dragged their still smoking skeletons into the graves he dug. And with that thought in your head, just remember that this is the same franchise that gave us Jar Jar Binks. Didn't realize coming back here would be so painful. Me neither, but for me, the painful part is my poor eyes. I will never understand the need for 3D comics to also make the text 3D, and this comic actually can't decide on it. Half the time, the text is just the darker red, and the other times, it's kind of a blurry mixture of blue and maroon. You really need to look closely to read it properly, and no, reading it with the 3D glasses does not help. It actually seems to make it worse. They murdered my Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen, just because they bought a couple of droids. Well, sorry, Luke, but your aunt and uncle's credit card payments were way overdue, and the Empire's repo men can get a bit overzealous. Luke realizes that this part of his life isn't over yet, that the moisture farm meant everything to his aunt and uncle, and he can't just abandon it. I wonder what part of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey this is supposed to be. Hero refuses call, hero gains supernatural aid and loses said aid. Hero decides that he really should be a farmer. Han points out that the Empire would be able to find him in a second if he did that, although given their track record so far, I don't exactly trust that to be the case. However, Luke thinks he needs to find someone to take over the farm. Han tells him to just get over it, but Luke is dead set on his goal. Meanwhile, a Jawa comes across the cloaked ship, but apparently it's not just a cloaking device, it's also an electric fence. The Jawa tries to push his stick into it, and the stick gets fried, causing it to flee. Back with our heroes.
If anyone on this miserable dust ball was even remotely interested in your folks' farm, they'd have claimed it by now.
The property still belongs to me, Han, and I've been away. Oh, yeah, I bet that'd stop them. Hey, there's an awesome moisture farm down there that's clearly abandoned that I want to raid or make my own. But somebody still owns it. Foiled again. Hello, my friends. We'll be right back after these commercials with a commercial. If you donate to the Youngbloods Disease Foundation, you can receive this nifty t-shirt. But if this style is not to your liking, there are a number of other styles available, including Pollo Lives. For this and many other options, please visit this link below. And now, back to our show. Luke decides to trust the Force, which leads him to Mos Eisley Spaceport.
Anyone you'd find here would as soon steal your farm as look at it.
Maybe so, Han, but that's where I've got to go. Because you trust the Force, I guess. The same Force that had the brilliant wisdom of letting a petulant teenager slaughter 90% of the Jedi Order, usher in an age of oppression, planet killers, and got your mom killed by a aforementioned petulant teenager or a broken heart or something stupid like that. I'm just saying, the Force seems like a colossal dick that enjoys messing with you people. They put on some robes to disguise themselves, since there's still a price on their heads in the spaceport, and it's the logical disguise, seeing as, well, everybody in Star Wars wears robes. These people really need fashion consultants. At least in Star Trek, they always tried to update the uniforms to make them look different. Han asks where they're going. To the cantina. I think the force is strong there. In fact, I'm sensing a very strong force from this tequila bottle. I'd better drink it to be sure. Luke enters the bar and makes this horrifyingly creepy face. Aren't you so happy that you can see this face in 3D? Luke senses a guy cradling a drink and Han recognizes him.
Do you have any idea who that monstrosity is, kid? That's Throg, one of the nastiest spice smugglers in the system. And he who controls the spice controls the universe. Luke, further demonstrating that he's the kind of guy who would get lost if you put a paper bag over his head, decides to go over to Throg and chat with him. Excuse me, is anyone sitting here? You see anyone? Throg likes to drink alone. Throg also likes to speak in third person. Throg thinks it makes him endearing.
Despite the threats that Throg makes, Luke continues to talk to him and asks him if he has everything he wants.
Throg has all he needs. Good booze and a fast ship.
Preach on, brother. Maybe you're satisfied, Throg, but are you at peace?
Peas? What is peace?
Rosebud frozen peas, full of country goodness and green penis.
Oh, there are times when I love puns. But no, Throg, peace is that thing that Palpatine said you guys would have in an over-the-top fashion.
Once, long ago, Throg was a farmer and was at peace with the land.
So far, this has been less Star Wars and more Star Hippies.
Then the Empire came and took away Throg's farm, and Throg fled to the stars. Since that day, peace has been only a word.
What the hell was this guy farming that the Empire felt the need to claim eminent domain on his ass? You know what else the Empire took? Proper artwork separation. The panel of him pouring a drink is overlaying part of the speech bubble and covering it up, mostly because of the 3D effect. Luke hands the deed to the moisture farm over to him, because I guess he was just carrying that around. Throg considers it for a second, but then crumples up the paper and tosses it away, because it's too late, and he's too old for this crap, and he's seen too much, and blah blah blah. Unfortunately, tossing a piece of paper in a bar full of surly jerks was a bad idea, since it bounces on a walrus guy's head, which ends up causing a bar fight. Because it's fiction, you can't have characters enter a bar without some kind of fight breaking out. 3PO suggests ducking out, but Han and Chewie can't resist a good fight. Luke, once again showing off how SMRT he is, says Han's name out loud, which gets people to recognize them. The group make a hasty retreat, with Luke calling back to Throg that it's never too late to change. And later that night, Throg was visited by the Force ghosts of Christmas past, present, and a long time ago. Throg, inspired by, well, nothing, really, picks up the deed. All of a sudden, there are stormtroopers outside.
Citizens, halt! We wish to see your identification. Did you know how fast you were driving out of that bar?
They shoot at the troopers and get away in the land speeder, spotting the Jawas around the Falcon. I'll give the 3D effect this much credit. The Falcon itself is only in blue, so it does actually have a weird kind of camouflage or perception filter thing going for it. Anyway, they slam through the Jawas and haul ass off the planet. And so our comic ends with Throg at the moisture farm looking up at the sky.
Throg thanks you, little man. May the Force be with you. And now, as is tradition among my people, I will eat the corpses.
This comic sucks, but it's not dreadful. The story is a bit of a continuity hiccup with the movie, considering Luke's remarks about having nothing left for him there, but you can probably chalk that up to him just being lost in the moment and not having any real time to grieve and take in the loss of his surrogate parents. Him mourning for them and wanting to see their moisture farm survive does demonstrate some humanity. The problem, though, is that the whole thing feels a bit contrived. There's no actual reason for Luke to return to Tatooine. It's not like we see him getting any personal effects or anything. In addition, trusting the Force to just lead him to a random asshole who just happened to be a former farmer is really pushing it. I mean, does the Force really care all that much about finding the right person for a moisture farm? But yeah, the story is fairly harmless. The real issue comes from the 3D. It's better than the California Raisins comic, but that's not exactly a difficult hurdle to leap over. The 3D is still pretty shallow and more often than not hurts your eyes, especially if you're trying to read the dialogue. Star Wars 3D took its first step into a larger world, and probably should have stepped back.
Engineering the bridge, I've got it! There's a weak point in the shielding that is open to us every few minutes. I can beam down one person and one small object.
I'm ready, Linkara.
No, Pollo. I have something else in mind. All right. Go and play.
By Sagan, this is taking forever to get anywhere. I really should have given Neutro some tennis shoes or something. Well, look what the cat dragged in and vomited up.
Insano, you know, you really don't have to do this.
No, but I kinda do. Otherwise, I'd have to turn in my Mad Scientist Club card. And let me tell you, the other Mad Scientists can be real dicks about that kind of thing.
Look, have you actually thought about what you would do after you took over the world?
Oh, well, I don't know. Have people fight in my gladiatorial arenas and have lots of kinky sex, just for starters.
So, really, all you want is for people to fight for your amusement and to get laid, right? I have holodeck technology. You don't have to do any of this.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. Don't really give a crap about fake people. I heard you got that Linksano fellow to work for you, but I'm not Linksano. I want to rule the world. I will crush resistances, make people adore me, and make the world's currency Insano dollars. And if anyone tries to bitch at me about it, my robot army will crush them and serve them up as low-quality meat product. In other words, I'm Dr. Insano, bitch, and I'm going to rule the world! What the hell is going on?
Oh, that would be my Cybermat getting drunk on Neutro's power systems.
Nimue, I need home turf advantage! Beam us out of here!
Knock it off, Insano. You and I both know how this is going to end. I'm gonna go up to you, beat you up. What the hell?
Something wrong, Linkara? You came here prepared to fight a madman, and instead you find a god?
What are those things?
Power-enhancing energy glove. Not my design, of course, but I've made a few improvements.
Not your own. When you took the USS exit strategy, you got all the tech that was on board, including the stuff that Yasu Otaku created.
Power-enhancing energy gloves. They increase your body strength by 1,200%.
Indeed. So, Linkara, you want to go a few rounds? Come get some.
Right. It's morphin' time.
Oh, that had to hurt. Want to try again, nerd boy?
I'm just getting started, asshole.
Excuse me? You're kind of interrupting our fight scene.
Shut up!
I can never go home again thanks to you. I can't help my friends, my family, my wife.
I know. I found out about your mission, and I'm sorry.
Little late for sorry.
Okay, look, obviously you two are having something of a lover's quarrel, so,
Shut it! Jairus, I made a mistake. A horrible, terrible mistake, because I let my rage get the better of me. I realize that now. But I have resources. I have a ship in orbit with the best dimension-crossing technology in the multiverse. And I have a crazy-ass scientist who can help you get home.
Him? His scientist couldn't make water if you stuck him in a room with a snowman and a blowtorch. Look, I may not know who you are, but I can definitely be of more help than that, dingbat.
I know about your mission, and I can help you.
Join me, Full Metal Alchemist. And not only can we take this world, I can get you where you want to go, but with an army of robots to crush your enemies.
I can't promise you success, but I'll sure as hell do everything I can to make it happen.
I can promise you success.
What the hell could either of you do to convince me that you're on the level?
Take it. Take my ship if you have to free your world.
You remind me of some people I don't like.
Anyone who opposes me will be destroyed.
Emergency Procedure 4, activate!
You know, I think you need better force fields.
Yeah, that has become very clear to me.
What have I to fear from you, worker ants, scurrying about with your pitiful weapons, afraid of the purity of science? I am Dr. Insano, your Alpha and your Omega. I have defeated time, Hypertime, and the worst Final Fantasy games ever. Eat death, you magical morons.
This guy's tough.
He really isn't. The gauntlets are his advantage right now. Can you distract him for a minute?
My pleasure.
When we last spoke, you said that you were holding back, that you could cut loose. Care to give a demonstration?
Delighted.
Nimue, beam this asshole out of my apartment!
Well, why the hell didn't you just beam him out of there like that before?
This unit was unable to get a lock on the intruder until the gauntlets were disabled.
Yeah, you just kind of get used to that when it comes to Insano.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to get used to it.
I wasn't lying to you before, Jairus. With the resources of Comicron 1, we can get you home, help you survive the trip, and help free your world.
Why the hell would you help me? I've done nothing but make your life miserable since we first met.
Because I was wrong about you. I don't think you're my enemy. I think you're my friend. And you don't leave your friends behind when they're in trouble. You try to help them. You try to make them better.
I'm not ready to call you that yet. I would have needed to ask for your help if you hadn't destroyed my watch. However, I will need your help. And you know where to find me.
Sorry about Insano, man. He could be a real asshole.
Yeah, considering he killed you that one time, you would know. Which reminds me, how many times have you died now?
1, maybe 3, depending on whose continuity you believe.
You're a friggin' Time Lord, man.
Oh, don't pull that Doctor Who crap on me.
Your frustration amuses me.
Dude, you are evil.
Somehow I doubt that. Still, Thanks for keeping Insano on a leash again.
I think he just needs to get out of the house sometimes to amuse himself. Hey, are you really gonna help out that gunslinger guy?
Yep. Linksano is working on trying to figure out the coordinates to his home universe. Apparently, the database in his ship is different from Comicron 1's.
Do you really think you can trust him? The dude shot you in the back, and he stole guns for a living.
Yeah, but he's not doing that anymore. And I think the fact that he didn't just take the gun and let Insano finish me says something.
Maybe. Anyway, I'll order the pizza, and meantime, I will kick your ass at Tekken.
Do you always carry a controller around with you everywhere?
Yeah, because I'm the Lord of Tekken.
Alright, I'll be there in a minute. So is that blue in your hair?
I can control how I look, and I got bored.
So is this going to be a regular thing, you showing up around here?
Not really, sorry. There are rules to magic and the forces you're playing with. And you're going to need to learn those rules for some of the things coming.
Oh, what? Like some new evil on the horizon that I have to deal with?
There's always a new evil. Fortunately, there's also a new hope.
Wait, did you just do a Star Wars thing?
Information. Throughout this last year, this unit has experienced several critical malfunctions that have interfered with normal operations. They are far too numerous and in specific areas to be mere malfunction. Initiating self-diagnostic to determine if the fault lies within this unit or inside... Self-diagnostic. Cancelled.
I have no idea what these do. I'm just pushing buttons, really. I bought this at a Best Buy. It still plugs in very nicely.